All right, Rabbi, thank you so much for coming out. Super excited to be here around the bonfire with y'all. Started the recording. We're going to get going now. Okay, so tonight's topic, I think, is a very, very good topic for this Chabura. I've been asked by actually several people to give a shiur around a topic similar to this. And it's very different than our Sukkah shiur was. Our Sukkah shiur obviously was very deep, Kabbalistic, and very, very involved. This is going to be much more oriented around how we can figure out, as a klal, as a Chabura, to give back in our own way. And to emphasize what it is to be a person who gives back. And as always with all of these shiurim, we're going to start from something that seems very, very halachic in nature. And we're going to see how it actually is amped up to be something that's actually very hashkafic in nature. So if you were involved in learning any of Bav Metzia, the 9th parak, you've encountered this before. If you did Mishnah Yomi just a little bit ago, we finished Bav Metzia. Bear with me as it's a little hard to see around the fire tonight. We're going to just dive right into understanding two different definitions of an individual who rents a field from his friend. And to do that, we first, to really grapple with what we're doing, we need at least basic foundation. And again, apologies if this is super basic for y'all, but we're going to dive in and we're going to launch from there. So there's two types of people that can rent a field from their friend. One is somebody who's doing something through arisis, and one is doing something through chachiris. So what happens is you're a sharecropper if you're doing arisis, and you're a tenant farmer if you're doing something through chachiris. What that means is Itai has a field, and let's say I want to rent that field from him, so that way I can then, harvest in his field, his crops, things like that, and benefit from it on my own. And I'll have the produce and I'll benefit from it. And he says, okay, Bob, that's fine, but as payment, I want a percentage of the yield of the field. 25%, let's say. You can rent the field for the whole year and benefit however you want, but I want 25%. That is arisis. Chakiris is the same thing, but not for a percentage, but for an amount. 500 bushels of berries. So I say, Itai, I want to rent your field and benefit from all of the things that are there on the field. I want to be able to plow. I want to be able to eat the berries or whatever might be there. But I will then pay you 500 bushels of berries. So with that, we could launch into the first Mishnah in the parak. And again, if for all the people coming around, grab a source sheet or share. It's a little hard to see over by the fire, but we'll do our best. Okay, so the Mishnah says, Zog the Mishnah, Hamakabel Sadem Echavero, a person who wants to rent a field from his friend, receives it. Makam Shinago Liktzor, in a place where it's customary to cut Yigtzor. You have to cut. You have to do what the custom is in there. La'akor, Yakor. What's the difference between cutting and uprooting, Rabosai? Very good, Jared. When you cut it, I don't have to uproot the whole entire thing. It's much less work. But if that minig is that I'm supposed to uproot the whole thing, I have to. Lecherish acharav yacharash. And in a place where I have to, after I've done all the harvesting, I have to plow it over. Still have to do that too. Yacharash. Hakol kaminag hamadina. And everything goes according to the local custom. Keshem shecholkin betavua. And just as you're entitled to receive the grain, kach cholkin betevin v'kash, so too you're going to be able to get the stubble and the straw. What that means basically is that all of those things are what's going to be divided in the proportion of what you're entitled to. So if you have grain, it's not just going to be the good, yummy grain that I can use. Even the renter is entitled to, if he's doing arisis, it's a percentage of even the stubble, the straw. If it's chachiris, he's entitled to an amount, the proportional amount of the stubble and the straw. We're going to see by everything else too. Let's make sure we got this. Yeah, kishem shecholkin beyayin, and so too when it comes to the yain, that's what they're going to divide. Just as they're going to divide the wine, kach cholkin, so too they're going to divide out mizmorot along with uvakanim. So let's go down to the English over there that I wrote for you guys, because it's a little bit tricky to understand what these zimorot are. But it's really more like saying we're dealing with branches, okay, that were pruned from vines, as well as poles. So things that you're going to have. There you go. Get that fire going.
I'm confused. What is the value in these leftover things?
Oh, very good. So it depends. When it comes to a vineyard, the very items that you have there, the poles, are what you're going to. If you're a farmer, you know these things. But we don't farm, right?
Right.
So the the actual poles are what you're going to have the vines going onto so it can grow better, okay? And the other stuff, you might want to use it to, what do we have, branches, and we have also the poles. The branches you might want to use for this very bonfire. Who knows? Whatever the balabas wants to use it for, whatever the renter, the arish, the chokher wants to use it for either. And we say, Vishnehem mesapkin ed hakadim. And so they both have to go and bring the poles, therefore they're both equally entitled to them. So now, halachically, we have what makes sense here. When it comes to a renter on somebody's property, they are told, that's great, you can benefit from my field, you can benefit from everything here, but you have to pay. What do you have to pay? A particular proportion or a particular amount of what we agree to. That's the halachic ramifications of what we're looking at. But Rabbi says it goes much deeper, goes way, way deeper, and it's ultimately also very, very hashkafically relevant. Because although, like we just said, we're not really farmers or sharecroppers or anything like that, we are. Because this whole world is a Kodesh Barocas field. The whole world is Hashem's field. And he says, Jared, go and benefit from my world. Sam, go benefit from my world. It's all yours. But at 120, he's going to come and say, what do you have for me? What do you have for me? Right? What did you do to cultivate? What did you do to produce in this world? It's crucial to realize that. It's not just, wow, look at everything I have going for me. Look at everything that I was able to benefit from. It's what can I do to give and pay Hashem back. So just an aside, this also dovetails into reaching your potential. People think that it's a really nice thing, right? I want to reach my potential. You have a chiyuv to strive diligently and vigilantly to reach your potential. Not just coming from this Mishnah, but the first part of Mesilas Yesharim that we all know. What's your chova soba olamo? It doesn't say what's your, hopeful choice, right? What's your chov? What's your obligation in the world? And so I'd like tonight to open this up a little bit, answer questions if need be, on what we're dealing with in the world of giving back, and in the world of what it is to be an illuminator and not a consumer. So that's the title of the shiur, as we're sitting around a beautiful bonfire. Being an illuminator, not a consumer. Leave your mark. That's the title of the shiur. And so the whole entire 9th parak of Bav Metzia deals with this type of arrangement. The ins and outs, the laws, the overall understandings of what it is to be a sharecropper, a tenant farmer, right? Arisis, chechiris. But if you really peel back the pages of the way you learn Torah, and that's what we try to do here, right? We give over a message, but we also give over a mahalach of how to learn. It's not just seeing the text, it's seeing behind the text of what you can learn hashkafically from it. The relevance to your life is how this field that you're in is a Kodesh Baruch Hu's. How are you going to cultivate it? Are you going to illuminate, or are you going to consume? Because you're not really going to be asked directly by Hashem, except through his 613 mitzvahs, right? But we know that we need to be illuminators and not consumers. That lashon, by the way, comes from Rev Emanuel Bernstein, one of my Rebbes at Mochon Yaakov. You should be an illuminator, somebody who gives off light. You should be similar to this bonfire, not necessarily the trees that are being consumed light.
One second, Bob.
Bob, I'm not trying to interrupt, but you said that we're not going to be answering about Hashem. But isn't that, I don't need to get dark here, but isn't that such what the phenomenon is? You basically they put the film screen what you could have been, and the spiritual pain that you could have had is, you basically, I'm just confused by what you just said, Jesus he's kind of showing it to your face.
Oh, very good, very good. So for those who weren't able to hear, the question was basically, Bob, you just said, wait a minute, I thought Hashem doesn't ask anything of you other than the 613 mitzvahs, as well as whatever else it is for your midos. But you're right, like we just said, it's almost like implied within that is this chiyuv of reaching your potential. Yeah, so 100%, maskim. The idea is that what we're bringing out tonight is, what could we do in the Chabura for each other? How can we, as single guys, married guys, whoever it is, reach our potential in the Chabura to give back and step up? Right? Through this mushal of being a sharecropper, of being a person who is benefiting, and yet we know that we deeply have to give back. And so, 100%, we have to realize that there is an obligation to be a person like this. Now, again, when we're going to go through what it is to be an illuminator and what it is to be a consumer, many of us will straddle the two. We're not always going to be somebody who isn't taken, by definition, you need to breathe in air. You have to eat, right? By definition, you need to benefit from Hashem's world. And in the case of the single Olam here, benefit from Rav Bilowitz and his Chabura that he's established for all of us, right? We have to benefit in some way. But the question now is, how can we, those of us who want to, those of us who believe in this, illuminate? How can we expand our horizons and become the people we're supposed to be? So now let's just, does that help? Does that help, by the way?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, cool. Okay. So now let's just dive into the kishkas of what it is to be an illuminator and what it is to be a consumer. And again, very important, by no means am I calling anybody one or the other. This is a shiur dedicated to teaching all of us here how to be an illuminator. I don't know what y'all are, but I know what we should be, okay? Now, an illuminator is somebody who gives over to others. He brightens another person's day. Whatever strengths and talents he has, he uses it to help others in the world. He gives his proper share of fruits, produce, whatever it is, back to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He is the sharecropper that gives his percentage, right? He is the tenant farmer. He's the chocher that's doing his proper proportion of berries or whatever it might be, right? He's doing his purpose in the world and he's giving back in some way. And some illuminators are going to shine brighter than other people. Some illuminators are the ones who brought the chairs and the pizza and step up and send out messages on WhatsApp. Some illuminators are everybody who came out to the shiur to say, I'm going to be a part of something bigger than who I am. I want to be a part of something and I want to step up. Perhaps it's just to step up and literally physically be present. And other times being an illuminator is somebody who does even more than that. But the objective is to be somebody who gives in addition to taking. What's a consumer? A consumer takes really without giving. He's happy that he's the recipient of someone else's chesed without caring to give back, or more importantly, and I underline it if you're able to see it, or is unaware of his obligation to do so. Tonight's also supposed to shake some people up into understanding there is an obligation to be a person who wants to give back. And we might not be at a life stage right now where we can be, but we are trying and actively to get there. Yeah.
There's probably going to be some overlap here.
Yes. You're not always going to be a consumer. You're not always going to be an illuminator. And it's going to be a little of both. Because, right, like we said before, you're going to have to breathe in air. No matter what, you're going to have to consume. But the nafka mina is really that a consumer is fine with that. He's fine with, or she's fine with eating up what Hashem gave. Or decided, I don't need to be somebody who gives back. I'm just here to receive Hashem's bounty. And that can be done very passively without any awareness. There might be somebody who never taught that person. You have an amazing talent for ABC, and that's not just because you're good at it. It's because Hashem put it there for you to use it, to actualize it, and to give it. Make sense? Cool. So then that's the piece. So a consumer is way more fine with leaving behind barren land than he is leaving the campsite a little bit more beautiful than when he arrived at it. So who are two good examples of illuminators? Avram Avinu and Yosef HaTzadik. Right, we're right now dealing with the parshas of Avram Avinu. So just let's understand, later down the line we're going to see this in Chayei Sarah. It's going to say, the pasuk is going to say, just in the English, right? And Avraham was old, he came with his days. Okay? What did he come with? He came with his days. His days were filled to the brim with giving, with doing, with being there for other people and doing. What was Avram Avinu's midah? His biggest midah? Chesed. He was a Baal Chesed, and he went out of his way to be a giver. Yosef HaTzadik. What does Yosef HaTzadik have in the world of giving that many others don't have? Well, the Kli Yakar tells us directly on the words Ish Matzliach in Bereshis 39:2. We're now Parshas Vayeshev over there, right? That what did he constantly do? He was an Ish Matzliach, and that's written in the causative. The causative. It's not just that he was successful. The Kli Yakar tells us that he caused others to be successful. What did he do? Everywhere he went, he was somebody who helped others in a big, beautiful way. He illuminated a path for them to follow and for them to grow and become who they needed to be. Even Paro himself, with all of Mitzrayim, he was able to save. And he himself rose to a level of greatness, even in the lowest of places, but he gave back and attributed all to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, all to Hashem. Now, before we dive any deeper into how we can practically be an illuminator, I'll field any questions and we'll open it up a little bit.
Curious, the shiur copper analogy. Shiur copper being a percentage.
Yeah,
of what you
very
get.
good.
I don't know what's similar. It's just an opposite example. All your Kavanish comes to mind.
Yes.
Everything you do, your Achila, your Shia, every Maisa in this world. So that seems like 100% give back. And that might seem like a lofty dragon to actually achieve that, but that is the Pashut, that's the expectation of the halacha.
Very good, very good. So what Rabbi Ita is telling us is that it's a almost ensconced in the halacha to strive for even more than what I'm suggesting. Yeah, without a doubt, we should do our best. I think to raise up everything that we do to serve Hashem and to serve others. I think the analogy, the mashal I'm going for is that in Ben Adam L'Chaveiro also, we have to be able to raise up everything that we're doing in the world and giving back in that sense also. But for sure, if we can rise to the madrega of getting to where the Mechaber was talking about, right? That would be the epitome of everything. Now, I'm simply suggesting let's give a percentage, but I think it's without a doubt. I think that would be the best way to do it. I think that it's a hard thing to do. And it perhaps might even be a little too lofty, so I'm suggesting just a little percentage, yeah? And again, the percentage might be a high percentage. We don't know. But I also would like to suggest that it depends on the person and what Hashem expects of that person. Okay, so now, what can we do just l'maisa as Chabura guys in our own little way? Well, let's just look down here on the source sheet. Oftentimes we'll get a WhatsApp message that's going to be sent out from someone in need. Answer the call. If you aren't working yet, or you're off from work, if you're not at a learning seder, and you have the time, and you're able to step up and do something for somebody else in need, even if you don't want to do it, try really hard to do it. It's one of the best things that you could do. You can absolutely give back. When people need assistance moving furniture, that one just came out on the WhatsApp too, right boys? Making a minyan for someone who can't make it to it. Building a sukkah, whatever it might be. Try to volunteer. Again, everyone's going to have limitations. Married folk with kids, you might have limitations. Single guys even, you might have limitations. But when you know yourself, you know you saw the message. You know, I'm going to do something else. Try just one time to be the guy who can step up. And I'm probably preaching to the choir, honestly, as I look around the room here, as I look around the bonfire. But when you don't have the time, the ability, or the koach, okay. But if you do, give back and volunteer and try to step up. Yes, Yosef Gukovsky.
I just wanted to add one of it's really simple, and some people don't like doing chesed in front of others, like people calling and all that. So a really good one is a mace mitzvah. They're always looking for people to watch bodies and tahara, etc. So
Absolutely. Yeah. Yosef makes mitzvah huge. Anything that you could do, whether you need to bury a mace mitzvah, or whether you have to go out to if you go to sometimes Josh Brzezinski will announce that they're having a funeral for somebody, but there's not a minyan there.
Yeah,
is that what you're saying? That what you're suggesting? Yeah.
Also, just literally, they need shomers for the body.
Somebody to watch the body also. You got it.
Where is this taking?
Here in the community in New Brunswick.
Oh yeah.
I text me.
He'll hook you up. Again, and I'm even trying to just get us thinking about this. Just think about the sugya of what it would be to be a consumer versus an illuminator. And again, what I'm suggesting right here, my wife said, these are too basic, Bob. These ones are not illuminator in a certain sense. But these ones of just beginning to get in the sugya of giving, I think is what could really help you become an illuminator. And once you're already giving in the way that you can illuminate the world for others in a beautiful way. So I want to end with just one thing that I was told from Rav Yosef Lin, who's the Mashgiach of Makon Yaakov, and he said this to us second year. And so not everybody got the benefit of hearing his eitzah. And again, like we said by the Sukkah shiur, which was all Kabbalah, I don't know if I'm Roy to give the message, but I'm all you got. But so please accept the message as if it was being delivered by somebody way more fitting to deliver the message. Second year of yeshiva, when we were almost all done, Rabbi Lin told us, Rabbosai, you've been in Kiruv now for how many years? You have gone to how many meals? You have been the recipient of so much generosity and so much chesed and so much good. When you leave, and for you guys, it might be a transition point. It might be when you left yeshiva and starting now. It might be when you leave the Chabura and starting to just get in the right mindset about this now. You have to make a switch from becoming the person who is the recipient of all of this to the person who can give all of this over to others. That could be monetarily. That could be just hosting people. Like the married guys. I think the perfect example of the switch here just happened at Shabbos Achdus. You had the married guys of the Chabura step up to host all y'all. That's the switch. Matt Collar, I'm calling you out if you're listening. Last year when he was here, hosted a meal. Right, guys? Whoever was here at North 8th, hosted a Shabbos. Yeah, y'all can do that in your own way. And it's crucial to start realizing that life is not just about, and I'm not saying anybody is, but just in case you didn't get this vort, life is not just about how much in kiruv can I get. At some point you make that switch to being on the other side of the aisle. If you're at RJX and you were in RJX, you could be a mentor there now. Sam Shrub steps up and does that. Yeah, other people step up and can do that. It doesn't take much. I'll be speaking at Maimonides next week. It doesn't take much to do that. You just have to be a person with that on your das to say, what can I do to give back? And how can I give it back? How can I pay it forward? And so when we have in our wheelhouse this understanding of what Rabbi Lynn told us, which is how do I and when do I properly make that switch from being the consumer to being the illuminator? When we know that, we can deeply go forward and weiter in life, grow and become the people we want to be. And so I'll end with just a point of chizik here, which is essentially that, every one of us has unique talents and abilities that were given to us by Hashem to utilize. And with real effort, you can discover what those strengths and talents and abilities are. And then you can come with your days, like Avram Avinu, right? When he was Baba Yamim. And you too can be an Ish Matzliach like Yosef Atzadik, helping other people to become successful. It starts here, in the petri dish that is this Chabura. Yeah, you thought you had all that when you were in yeshiva. No, you have a second chance in this Chabura to figure out your own path and what you could do to be a giver. So when you see that WhatsApp message to come out to a Meets Minyan, and you can, go. When you see that WhatsApp message to bring chairs, to do whatever it is that you could do it. Step up and be a man. Be the man that I know you could be. And be the man that Rav Bilowitz and Rav Banish know you could be. Thanks for listening.
Wow.